Hi everybody, happy not Friday. It's actually the Sunday before Christmas. So let me start off by saying happy holidays to everyone, and I hope everybody has a chance to spend some time with their family over this holiday season. But with the holidays here, I thought it would be a great time to talk about New Year's resolutions and how to get started in 2016 with low carb, high fat nutrition and a much healthier lifestyle. So before we get started, a couple of things. First of all, see my microphone, so hopefully now the sound issues will be gone. Thank you to my husband for the early Christmas present. And second of all, I get questions sometimes that say, why can't you answer all the questions on Facebook or on YouTube? And let me tell you, I apologize for that. This is our way of trying to answer questions because unfortunately, oftentimes I am literally in the clinic seeing patients for 15 hours a day and have 3 kids and a wonderful but needy husband. So I hope this serves as a way to continue to answer questions in the new year. So please keep them coming, and I'll try to cover as many as possible in this format so that we can get answers out to people who need them. All right, let's go ahead and get started. But one more thing before I begin, and that is, before you begin a low-carb, high-fat lifestyle, make sure that you're working with a doctor. If you're one of the wonderful patients I see in the clinic, great, I will be taking care of you. But if you're not, please make sure that you're working with your own physician because this is not meant to be individual medical advice. Let's go ahead and get started. Low-carb, high-fat lifestyle. Couple important things as we begin. Number one, most important, the tenet, if you will, of good low carb, high fat nutrition is that this is real food. So as you make your choices every day, make sure that you're always keeping that one in mind. Number two, thing we actually don't need to worry so much about, and that's the dreaded calorie counting. So of course people think, well, on a diet, I have to count calories. Well, number one, this isn't a diet. A diet is a 4-letter word, right? And all diets end. This is a lifestyle, and that is so critical to take forward with you as you begin. It has to be approached as that. This is a lifestyle, something that can be maintained for the rest of your life. And in doing so, we can't be plagued by having to count calories all the time. And you don't need to. The reason that you have to count calories with other diets is because the food you're eating is making you hungry all the time, and you have to have some way to rein in your total portion size. If you're doing low carb, high fat properly, you're not going to be hungry all the time. So what you have to keep in mind instead of counting calories is eat when you're hungry, don't eat when you're not. So what I get all the time from patients is this: I'm worried I'm not eating enough. Or I realized I skipped a meal, is that bad? And the answer to that is no. What you've done is a little accidental intermittent fasting. And there's a growing body of evidence that intermittent fasting can be healthful. But the thing is, we do it in a low carb, high fat nutrition plan all the time on accident. Because you're busy, you're doing things, you don't realize, my goodness, I never ate lunch. That's okay. As long as you're eating and getting in the nutrients you need, getting in enough vegetables, getting in your proteins, which we're going to discuss here, you're going to be fine if sometimes you miss a meal. So don't worry about it. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the actual macronutrients and how to put together a good low carb, high fat plan. Let's begin with those carbohydrates. Remember, and we've discussed this in other videos in the past, low carb lifestyle is not a no carb lifestyle. You're gonna eat carbs. Where are they gonna come from? Carbs in your diet here are going to come from primarily vegetables, but also nuts and dairy. So again, not a low carb diet, not a no carb diet, a low carb diet. All right, so how many carbs should you actually get? Well, here's what I do with my patients. I start everybody off on 50 to 75 total grams a day for the first 1 to 2 weeks. This gives people an opportunity to look up, find out where the carbs are lurking, begin that transition into a low carb lifestyle. For most people, 50 to 75 is still going to be too high for them to accomplish all their goals, and we dial it down a little bit further. But the span of what a proper low-carb lifestyle total carbohydrate intake looks like is different for different people. So for example, some people who have significant metabolic disease, they're trying to resolve their type 2 diabetes, or they're trying to control their type 1 diabetes as tightly as possible. They need to be on the lower end of the spectrum. And what does that mean? At least under 30 total carbs, for some people even under 20. And the other end of the spectrum, athletes. They can be following proper low-carb, high-fat nutrition and be 75, potentially even 100 total carbs a day. So how do you know where you fit into this range here, 20 to upwards of 100 total carbs a day? Well, again, the first thing that depends on is your metabolic profile. If you are trying to battle a metabolic disease, head at the lower end, under 20 or under 30 total carbs a day. Really, we don't want to get much under 20 total carbs a day, because if you do that, you won't be able to get in all of your vegetables. So 20 to 30 is a good idea if you've got metabolic disease, and between 30 and 50 if you don't. I will tell you, I personally don't have any metabolic disease, but I choose to stay under 35 total grams of carbohydrates a day. Why? This is where I feel best, and that matters. So whatever you choose as your starting point, you may wind up adjusting this slightly depending on how you're feeling. So 35 for me, I've had enough experience living this way for years now. That's the perfect spot for me. So beginning, where are those carbs going to be coming from? Remember, vegetables. We want to be making sure we're getting at least 4 servings of vegetables in a day, which again, half cup cooked, full cup raw. And don't forget, I did an entire lecture on vegetables and a low carb, high fat diet. Possibly nuts and a little bit of dairy. But we want to be making sure that we're not heading too far under 20 total carbs a day. So that's carbohydrates. Number 2 is protein. Another thing with a low carb, high fat diet is it's not high protein. It's adequate protein. So what the heck does adequate protein look like anyway? Well, I like to teach people to do it via the palm method. So what we want to do is get about 4 palm sizes of protein per day, up to 4 sizes of palm sizes of protein a day. A palm size for women is usually about 20 grams of protein, and for men, it's usually about 30 grams of protein. So for women, we want to get up to 80 grams of protein a day. For men, up to 120 grams of protein a day. If you happen to be much bigger or much smaller, that can be adjusted a little bit, but that would go with the size of your palm. I think that's the easiest way to get people started on what exactly does adequate protein look like. All right, so we've got carbs, we've got protein. Those are both important to get the micronutrients that we need and make sure we're getting enough protein for our lean body mass. Where does the rest of our intake come? From fat. Basically, you do fat until you're full at this point. So what does that mean? Like, how do you get all that extra fat? Where are we getting the fat from? What does that look like? Well, again, remember, real food. So our fat should be coming from real food sources as well. That can mean fatty cuts of meat. That can mean lots of olive oil, dairy, like butter, heavy whipping cream, cheese. It can mean avocados. It can mean fatty nuts. There's many wonderful sources of fat that we can plug in for that third and most plentiful macronutrient. Okay, so what does this look like in a day? How do I begin? What exactly am I going to eat? Well, let's begin with breakfast. Let's really quick take a look at the breakfast most people would probably go to if they woke up one day and decided to be healthy. They'd go to the kitchen and they'd make a big bowl of oatmeal, which they'd make worse, right, by putting a banana in it. Their insulin would soar, and all day long they'd be hungry and store fat. Bad idea. What could we do instead? Well, the thing most people think of first is bacon and eggs. And the answer to that is fine. You can eat that every morning for the rest of your life if you want, as long as you remember the real food aspect. Bacon should be pork, maybe some celery juice as a natural nitrite, not a list a mile long, then it's not real food. But bacon and eggs would be fine. But again, for most people, the problem with that is that sounds really good today and even tomorrow. But by next week, if you put bacon and eggs in front of me, I'm gonna kill you, right? Because I'm sick of it. So we gotta have a lot of other options. Clearly, there's takes on this. I mean, you could do breakfast meat and cheese of any kind. You could do omelets, a million varieties. You could do cottage cheese. You could do full-fat yogurt, put some nuts or peanut butter in there. But that'll get boring after a while, too. Don't forget, breakfast, low-carb, high-fat, non-grain-based, baked goods. Have an almond flour muffin for breakfast. Don't forget to put lots of butter on it. A coconut flour pancake can be had with butter or even peanut butter as a wonderful, nutritious start to your day. Another thing I always tell people to think about for breakfast, sounds crazy at first, is cheesecake. Because wait, if you remove the sugar from cheesecake, because sugar shouldn't even be in your house any longer, and you put xylitol or erythritol in there instead, you got to remember that everything else in a cheesecake is real food. Now, do you want to put a graham cracker crust on the cheesecake? That's not real food. But if you crush up a bunch of nuts with butter, that is, and then it becomes a brilliant way to start the day. What about lunch? Lunch is simple. Most people have sandwiches or salads, and look, both of those will work for you. Because as long as you remember to keep the croutons off your salad, that's not real food. And you don't try to put some crazy light, chemical-loaded dressing on there, and you use real fat instead as a dressing. A salad is perfect. And a sandwich is something you can also eat out at a restaurant. All you have to do is ask them to bring it to you without the bread. And that doesn't mean you can only have a burger or a chicken sandwich. Any sandwich can be made without the bread. And your variety then is limitless depending on what's on the menu. But eating out can be easy this way. Instead of the fries that come with that sandwich, ask them to bring a side salad or extra vegetables. Eating out. Again, we'll do another talk just on that. But what does a healthy dinner plate now look like for everybody in the family? Well, it looks like protein, which for most non-vegetarians will mean meat, but it doesn't have to. And then it means vegetables. And both of these things are going to be loaded with fat. Those vegetables are going to be covered in olive oil, buttered, or maybe even creamed. Have creamed spinach as a side. That would be wonderful. And then after dinner, if you want dessert, you can have it, because desserts can be a great way to actually increase your fat percentage for the day. Remember the lifestyle aspect of this? It's so very important. But when we realize all the wonderful things that can be eaten in low-carb, high-fat lifestyle, you realize this is something for the rest of my life. And that is so very important. So what if you were to break down what our macronutrients look like in like a pie graph, which you might see, especially if you're tracking your food with MyFitnessPal or one of those apps. They may give you a pie graph. So what does it look like? Well, it looks like mostly fat. Absolutely over 50% fat. But some people will approach even close to 80% of the intake for the day as fat. 15, maybe up to 20% protein, and then the rest as carbohydrates. So that's what a pie graph will look like. And I hope this really helps everyone. And I hope you grasp these ideas and you go forward to a healthier 2016. And when you do it, please remember, then teach it to someone else. Because I'll tell you, one of the greatest joys is when I hear, I really got it. I'm so much healthier, and now I taught my business associate, my spouse, my friend, and they're losing weight and feeling better too. This is how revolutions start, and why should a food revolution be any different? So embrace a lifestyle that's going to make you healthier, and then teach someone else. Happy holidays, everyone. to a healthy and happy 2016.